Morgan's recognized for 5 minutes.
I thank the gentleman for the time. I don't believe that either the chairman of the committee, and I certainly know that the ranking Democrat on the committee are comfortable with this process, are comfortable with the allocations that have been put forward for crucial legislation for the American people. At issue and still hanging out there are everything that goes to health and human services and education that the government does, crucial to the health of our people, crucial to the education of many. The issue of veterans' health care, as the gentleman from Wisconsin said, we still haven't adequately funded and taken care of identified problems with veterans' health care. And yet money to do that in the bill coming up later today was stripped from the legislation late in the night. We have the issue of Homeland Security. I serve on the Homeland Security Committee, and we know that we are not meeting the needs adequately of aviation security, of port security, of the other aspects of Homeland Security, first responders, those who we are going to call on, our fire, our police, and others in our home states do not have the tools they need to respond to day-to-day, let alone potentially catastrophic emergencies and terrorist attacks. But here we find ourselves yet again on the floor of the House, yet again continuing through a temporary measure the operations of the government. Now, I guess things wouldn't be this way if the Republicans held the White House and controlled both the House and the Senate. Oh, well, actually they do. That's right, I forgot. So it must be the Democrats that are holding things up. Maybe it's Bill Clinton who's responsible for this. I think it's his fault, actually, because he left us with a surplus, and now we have a $500 billion deficit, and we don't have the money to adequately fund these programs, so we're hung up and even can't get the votes together to pass anemic bills that won't meet the needs of Homeland Security, won't meet the needs to educate America's young people, won't meet the needs of our veterans and our seniors, that we just don't have the money to do it. We don't have any money at all. We're just stuck here, except, well, no, wait a minute. Then again, later today, we're going to take up a bill to borrow $87 billion to continue the conflict in Iraq and to build Iraq, to build an economy for Iraq, to build an infrastructure that's gold-plated, a wonderful gold-plated infrastructure. But we don't have money here in the United States to perform some of the many same functions. We're going to put another $50 million into the port of Amqasa. I can't get $8 million to dredge the ports in my district. The president says we're simply out of money, but we can borrow $50 million for the port of Amqasa, and we're going to vote on that later today. Mr. Bremer, the proconsul in charge of Iraq, is appalled that many people get their water through lines but open canals. He thinks that they need a modern water system. The city of Albany in my state is doing a bond measure to meet federal mandates, because they get their water supply through an open and online ditch, but they can't get a penny from the federal government to help with that project. But we can borrow the money to do it in Iraq. Now, how is it we can borrow money for all these projects in Iraq, and we can't find enough money here under arbitrary limits to fund education programs for Americans, to fund veterans' health care programs, to fund Homeland Security? What is wrong with this picture? Well, it turns out that the Republicans themselves can't agree between the White House and the House and the Senate. So we find week after week we do these temporary bills, temporary bill after temporary bill, and yet they don't deliberate toward any real result. I was just, and I'm certainly not on this esteemed committee, but being on another committee that will be subject to debate later today, I was just involved in a conference committee, except the conference committee never met. The result was dictated by the White House, something that I believe will jeopardize public health and safety, and it was accepted by the majority party, but then they found they couldn't get the votes to do what the White House was dictating that they should do. Same thing that's happening here with our education programs, with our veterans health care, with our first responders, with our homeland security, dictates have come down from above the level of this committee that say this is all the money there is. We can borrow money for Iraq, but we can't borrow money to fund these vital programs here in the United States of America, and we put a higher priority on cutting taxes, and therefore we can't get the bills passed. The votes aren't here. This is a very sad state of affairs.